What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Canes Insight Daily podcast powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Workouts are going strong on campus. Got the latest on who is standing out, some names that I didn't expect to hear, maybe some surprises, some pleasant surprises, some things that are going on. Just want to give you the latest that I am hearing. I was just there right by campus earlier today, so I want to give you the latest that I'm hearing from around the workouts. Also, we're talking some basketball. Pete's got some big, I don't want to say scoop or rumors, kind of in the middle, right? He's hearing buzz on some things that are very relevant to Miami Hurricanes basketball fans and their potential new coach. So we'll talk about the latest on the Hurricane search. First, I want to talk about some folks that don't need a search for a replacement. They got leadership in place. That is Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. Pete, hop in.
What's going on, D?
Doing good, man. Feeling pretty good. You've been on the hunt. You're putting your reporter hat on, I've seen.
Yeah, it's more because it's personal interest more than anything, because I'm interested in this job, right? This Canes hoops job. Are we going to get into that now, or you want to wait until the end?
Let's save it here. We'll talk a little bit about the what's going on campus football. Always got to lead with football here. So, we'll call this is the bank, right? Maybe it's more of an ATM. It's hard to say. Just this is the latest I am hearing direct from sources on what's happening in the workouts and some names that I wanted to specifically point out. And this will be of use to people. Amari Wallace, a lot of talk about his recovery from injury. He broke his leg in pretty gruesome fashion before the high school season last year for Central. It healed up fast. We heard Coach Duaso say on this show that he thought he could have potentially played if Central was eligible to run in the playoffs. They had a issue with FHSC, SAA, whatever it was. They couldn't play. But if they were in the playoffs, Amari Wallace could have played. Talking to sources about Amari Wallace and his status at workouts in Miami, not only is he full go, I heard that he had 3 interceptions today. Now, look, this is not, scrimmaging. It's not messing around. It's workout.
Who's the QB, man? Who's the QB? That's what the comments are going to say right away.
Kirby Freeman. But yeah, so Amari Wallace, 3 picks today. I heard he looks great. He is somebody you can factor in, not only to potentially play this fall, but to participate full go in spring and be a factor. So what's it going to be when the pads come on? Who knows? These workouts can tell you a little bit. OJ Frederic was singled out from the second he stepped on campus pretty much, and we know how that turned out. Jordan Lyle, the same thing. Elijah Lofton, the same thing. But, you got to see when they put the pads on and play. But Amari Wallace has always actually been a pads player, as you can see from these highlights. And he's someone that people were worried he might never be the same. So not only is he already the same, or he's back, and he's full go. He's ready to rock and roll. And we'll see him right when spring practice opens, full go, ready to play. So that's been real exciting. Blues asking about Carson Beck. He's recovering from his injury. He obviously got his car stolen this morning, which is not very cool. I had 2 cars stolen. So he's working through that. That's a real unfortunate situation. We'll find out. Hopefully that gets resolved somehow in a favorable way, but really bad situation with that. But he's working back to health. He's getting his brace off soon, or whatever the thing had his elbow off soon. So that's the latest I've heard on him. But as far as, quarterbacks, our Luke Nickel looks pretty good. Again, they're just working out. But one name that, along with Amari Wallace, that I've heard is maybe even better than advertised is Chris Ewald Jr., the corner out of Chaminade, teammate of JoJo Trader, teammate of Jeremiah Smith, teammate of Zaquan Patterson, who's here in the secondary, a lot of guys. But this is someone who's covered the best of the best, including Jeremiah Smith in practice, plus all the great teams that Chaminade plays. And I've heard he looks good right now. I heard he's mentally very good. Between the years, outstanding. Athletically, he looks good. Technique is there. The size is there. And he just looks like a guy that's going to help us and that we're really excited to have in the building. He was singled out. Really a lot of the guys I'm hearing about, I don't want to say surprises, because we knew Ewald was good. He was a 4-star prospect. Maybe guys that are even exceeding expectations early. He's one of them. Chris Ewald, along with Amari Wallace, fully healthy.
I gotta say, shout out to our boy Chris from the lab. The trainer down here. Has been in our comments, and he's the guy who trains with pro pro guys, DBs, receivers, skill position guys, and the best down here. And he's been in the comments saying you guys are sleeping on Chris Ewald for a long time. It's that South Florida experience, the readiness, I think, with that frame that he has, I think gets him on the field earlier than maybe a lot of people expected.
And look, Georgia recruited him hard. That's who we beat out for him. It wasn't like Georgia gave him to us. That was a battle we wanted to get him. Georgia's pretty good at developing defensive backs. He was committed to Michigan. They're pretty good at developing defensive backs. Will Johnson is going to be a first-round pick. They get guys drafted day 1, day 2 every year. So I'd say it's good company. And so far, so good with Chris Ewald. Question from John at Holistic Shield. Do you remember Ryan McNeil? I grew up with Ryan at Fort Pierce. Very good friend of mine. What do you guys think of him as a player in Miami? Well, P was still too young. I remember him more in the NFL level, right? Because when I was growing up, he was the best corner in the NFL from Miami for many, many years. Big, physical, tough. Miami's not had a lot of great corners compared to other positions. We're talking about Hall of Famers, right? Pro Bowlers at multiple positions. So McNeil really was the gold standard at corner at the NFL level for Miami Hurricanes, really, I think, until Sam Shields came in and made a Pro Bowl and won a Super Bowl. So Ryan McNeil, shout out to him. Big physical corner, what you're looking for. Certainly, we're looking for some guys with some size. Ewald's got a little bit of size. McNeil's probably a little bigger than him, but a very, very good player, both at the University of Miami and in the pros.
I'm interested about this next one you got, D, because it's a name that we actually brought up a couple of weeks ago. So I know you're hearing it from someone else. That's good sign.
You heard it. I asked about it, and it was confirmed when I asked about it. Somebody who's really exceeding expectations, Juan Minaya, the big dude from New Jersey, Paramus Catholic, I believe, Pete.
Paramus Catholic. I have his highlights here. Pull up.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is a complete monster. They called him Door coming out because he was just the size of a doorway. 6'6", 330. We interviewed him. Good kid. I believe he's Dominican. Yeah. Played a little bit of basketball, but really was someone who, as a junior, he looked pretty good. He had some interest. Penn State was there. Some of the Northeastern schools were after him, the Boston colleges of the world. Mirabal really saw, I think, more in him than others and said, this is a guy that I want to coach and really invest in and make a priority. They did. They brought him in. First year, he had some ups and downs. It's hard to be a big guy playing against these extremely athletic defensive linemen in practice. But it's not how you start. It's about your progress, how much you pick up. And he is someone who's developing at a very, very fast rate. I think you mentioned, Pete, that one of the reasons why Frankie Tinalau might have hopped in the portal was Minaya sort of taking his spot potentially as a future inside player. But the word I got on Minaya, progressing well, surprising people, and going to be someone who maybe not this year, potentially this year, but in general is going to play good football for the Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah, and development is the name of the game with him. You see the frame here. You see some of the just sheer size and the athletic ability. But the biggest thing for him, I think, has been being in that weight room and getting his body right, because he's big, but got to turn that into real power. And I think that's what he's been in the process of doing. I've seen him walking around, like his body has changed without a doubt. So that development, that's physical development. Now the coaching comes, big spring for him, but excited for him, man, because essentially he's a guy who took advantage of that redshirt year. There's not a lot of guys now that you can be number one, that are willing to accept the red shirt and stick around. And number two, really that you can be excited about that aren't redshirting because of injury reason, because they got hurt, right? This is someone who legitimately needed a redshirt year, but stuck it out. And again, big spring for him. But I think that's a nice piece that people maybe were forgetting about a little bit, that he was in that last class and not giving up on too soon. But I think the expectations have been raised for him inside the building.
Yeah, 6'6", 330. So if you get this guy playing good football, he's got the best coach developing him on the staff in Mirabal. 6'6", 330, playing good football. That's what you want to continue to be a dominant offensive line. Two guys who I think are going to be in a similar developmental track, Micah Newton and Dante Simpson. I heard both these guys look really good, more likely to be redshirt candidates. Doesn't have to be. It's not guaranteed. We'll see how it goes as the offseason goes on. But, guys that you could see becoming being redshirt candidates, but the tools are there athletically, movement-wise, attitude-wise. You can see him going in the right direction when you talk about see both those guys are going in the right direction when you talk about defensive tackles of the future based on early, again, no pads, no contact, but just moving around, body type. There's a lot of optimism about the developmental track of those two. One more tidbit was basically the three receivers. I try to get one singled out. All three of them, depending on the day, look like keepers, and they're very excited about how both those guys are doing. So keep an eye on all three of those for spring. That's going to be a big battle. And
for the people who are listening, who can you talk about who the three are?
Oh, Malachi Toney, receiver from American Heritage, Josh Moore from West Broward, and Dalen Upshaw.
So, I mean, look, all of them bring something different to the table, which is, I think, what's nice about that trio.
Yeah, that's and they're all smart guys, which is what you want.
Sports, man. Appreciate you hopping on here, even though Mike isn't on with us today.
Yeah, Mike. He's texting me right now about something else that we cannot discuss on a sports show.
Yeah, we have a lot of chats with him, so that could be one of many things.
Yeah, no. So, anyways, what else is going on here? Question about the spring game is I haven't heard this yet. Go ahead.
I had something that we didn't discuss, you and I pre-show, but I had tweeted out earlier, and I think you can say some poetic things about this guy right here. But let's give a big shout out to John Feliciano.
Yeah.
Retiring, and I put this out. He says he's still open maybe to come back for a playoff run with a team. Maybe a 49ers or Bills return if those teams are in a good position and they have an injury. But he had a 4-slide post. I posted this one in particular because it was the Kane-centric one. But, if you guys are not watching and you're listening, basically the gist of it was Feliciano said that he never even thought about playing in the NFL growing up. It was all about playing for the U, becoming a Cane. That's all he cared about. He redshirted and was lost, and he needed someone to, really look up to, and that was Brandon Linder. So he singled Brandon Linder out as someone that basically he watched him every day and says he wouldn't have gotten to where he is without him. So, man, what a really solid career for a guy, D, who, having been in the business and represented players and knowing how tough of a business this is, as a 4th-round pick, I mean, man, the guy played in some big games, played for some awesome teams, and made some good money, man. So congratulations to him, and hopefully he rests up here.
Yeah, Mongo, man, he had a great career, was really good at the Canes. I remember he was a 3-star player. Talk about a guy pretty much his size, actually a little bigger than him, Dominican. We just talked about Minaya, right? He's a big Dominican dude. Feliciano, another big Dominican dude on the inside. So you hope he could have a career like that. That was a really, really good offensive line in those early 2010s, 2010, 2011, 2012. Those were really, really good units. When you talk about what Stoutland left with Feliciano, with Linder, with, eventually you added Eric Flowers in 2012. You had some really, really good groups there. Isadora is another one that got added a little later. Chantrell Henderson was someone who you inherited from Stoutland. So really, really good, big, athletic offensive lines. He was a big part of it. Shout out to Feliciano. Who would have thought he'd be the last one playing that long?
Yeah, I used to always talk to my boy Stan Dobard about some of the guys he played with, and he used to always say, man, we had some dogs on the O-line, some dogs. That's what he used to always say. Like, they were – not all of them were the perfect measurements, but they were smart. They're really hard workers, and a lot of them got better over the years. These weren't guys who came in as finished products. So shout out to that group.
Oh, you know what? I was mistaken here, and I was corrected in the comments. I just confirmed it. Canes Get Live said, I thought Feliciano was Puerto Rican. I looked it up. I was wrong. He is Puerto Rican. He's not Dominican. So we're spreading it out here.
Thank you, Canes. Get live, man. We gotta
we've
keep
had
honest
Cuban
on this
offensive
stuff
linemen. We
sometimes,
we had Dominican or Puerto Rican offensive lineman. Now we got a Cuban.
He will start claiming. He will start claiming Cuban when he can, for sure.
No. Minaya, we asked him. We asked everybody. We figured it out. We were trying to figure out where we can claim people, but no one yet.
So yeah, that congratulations to him, and we'll see, man. I have a feeling maybe he gets another go at it with a team late in the season next year, but we'll see.
Kyle's asking 2001 to 2003 O-line, 2010 to 2012 O-line, 2023 to OL current. Which group was the best? In terms of NFL, I wouldn't be shocked if it ends up being 2023 to current, right? I mean, if you think about guys like 2023, you had Cohen, you had Matt Lee, right? You had some guys on the bench that were good. Obviously, Mao and Noah. So we'll see which group ends up being the best NFL wise. I think in terms of Miami, it had to be 2001. I mean, Dorsey didn't get sacked till the 8th game of the year, and they passed a lot. So, you can't do better than that. A-Rab's asking, did he miss the update on basketball?
Yeah, I just texted back to him. We haven't done it yet.
Give it to him. The floor is yours.
All right. So let me just kind of like set the floor with, I made a post this morning on Canes Insight, and this is essentially what the update is going to be. I'm going to get into more detail about it, but I made a rare post on the website. I made a rare message board post here. I said, Jai Lucas, who's the associate head coach at Duke, I'm keeping a close eye on him in this coaching search. I have reason to believe he's a finalist for the job. So going back to January 29th, I looked back at some of our messages, D, and that was the day that I had first heard his name. So January 29th. So 3 weeks ago, and I mentioned it on a live show. I believe it was maybe after the SMU game that Miami got killed in, that was an early name that was mentioned. At first I was like, oh, well, man, a guy who doesn't have much head coaching experience. That's, not what I was expecting right off the bat, but whatever. That was the first I had heard his name. And this was, I would say, as you know, D, in these coaching searches, there's so much misinformation, but there's multiple sides to it. There's like what I would say is the Miami side, and then there's people who are not associated with the Miami side. And when you get information coming from both sides of it, right, it kind of gives you a better idea of the picture, right? So that was 3 weeks ago. And I've said the first couple weeks of this search were setting the groundwork for the search. There was a state of shock after Coach L had stepped down. So information gathering, figuring out what the program needed, what direction they wanted to go in. And again, just like I said in the post, there's nothing more to that. It's not, I don't know for a fact that he's the guy who's the next head coach. But I've said for a couple weeks here that they were down to a couple names, two or three. It was a very small list from what I've heard. I heard this morning from someone not on the Miami side, heard Jai Lucas's name again. So I have very good reason to believe, based on the information that I have, that he is one of the guys who is a finalist. Now, Kyle is saying, and I already know this is going to be the sentiment, this is not a guy who's been a head coach. Why are we going for the low-hanging fruit, swing for the fences? I did a lot of research on him this morning. I reached out to some people in the coaching, high-level coaches in the college basketball community, right, who are aware of what the Miami job entails, D. This is a hire, to me, that would be similar to Dan Lanning at Oregon, to put it in football terms. That's that might be a bit ambitious, but I think looking at his track record and his resume, it lines up very well to what Dan Lanning did. Now, Lanning has an incredible resource at Oregon. Is it going to be the same thing at Miami? No. But looking at the Jai Lucas background and story, this is a high risk, high reward hire. High risk because he's never been a head coach. If he's the guy, right? This is a hypothetical world right now. High reward because of the example I just gave in the Dan Lanning situation. he is regarded as one of the top recruiters in the country, right? So like right away, this is a guy who's going to flip the roster. This is coaching friends that I've talked to say, when I floated the team, I said, wow, he can sure recruit. Someone else said that's the best recruiter in the country. These lists online name him consistently as, the 247 lists have him in the top 2 to 3 every year. The thing that's interesting about his career, Patty, and this is why he's, to me, not low-hanging fruit, and why I make the Lanning comparison. Immediately after his coaching career ends, his playing career ends, Rick Barnes hires him in 2013 at Texas. Shaka Smart retains him immediately when he takes over in 2015. John Calipari then pulls him from Texas in 2020 and gives him the title special assistant and lead recruiter. So again, this is the recruiting thing, right? So people are probably wondering, well, where does the coaching aspect of it come in, right? First of all, that role at Kentucky to me means a whole lot because he got it in 2020. He's there for a couple of years in the beginning of NIL, has to have an understanding of how NIL affects recruiting. Was the leading recruiter on Shaden Sharp, was a leading recruiter on the Boozer brothers. You can go down the list here about who the guy has brought in. Is hired by Duke in 2022 in Coach K's last season as an assistant coach, and then gets the assistant or the associate head coach label this next year. But this is the craziest thing to me about this guy. First Duke assistant coach in 30 years who did not play at Duke. I mean, that is, I'm sorry. Like when I read that, I was mind blown about that. So you look at this guy's resume, you look at the credentials. Has he been a head coach? Obviously not. But you are betting early on a guy who could, the trajectory on this guy is all the way up here to me. So, and Cooper Flagg as well as the biggest one, I should say, right? Cooper Flagg, he was his primary recruiter as well. So if this is the guy, just looking at the guy, at his resume, and I was watching some mic'd up stuff about him. He has an important coaching role. It seems like he has a lead voice. I liked his demeanor. He's not a screamer, a yeller. He can really 36 years old. So he can talk to these guys a certain way without being disrespectful, without being, thinking, man, this generation of kids is this way. No, he can get face to face with them and have real conversation with them. And I think that kind of coach in this era, who has been under Calipari, Rick Barnes, Shaka Smart, Coach K, to me checks the boxes, every box other than the fact he hasn't been a head coach. But if he doesn't work out as a head coach, man, I'd be really shocked. Got to put the right staff around him. That's my little update, so to speak. But again, these basketball updates, as always, brought to you by Aries Law PA, estate planning guys. So trusts, wills, very important. Plan your future so others don't. Go to arieslawpa.com, get a free consultation. Set up. His office is, in the Gables. They're headed towards Brickell down Coral Way. So go check it out. D, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, great job, Pete. That was very well researched and well presented. Jai Lucas, I remember when he was a recruit, right, with Florida for a minute. The thing that jumps out, besides the fact, like you said, on paper, former point guard with major coaches, major programs, the pedigree's there, he's young. It makes sense as a step-up job, but he's in the ACC. It could be, something that's long-lasting. Right, you have an ACC program already. You don't necessarily need to jump to another one. Certainly, Duke's not coming available anytime soon. You didn't even go to Duke, like you said. So I think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. When I think about this guy, I think his dad, and
that's the biggest thing I didn't mention, is that he comes from a basketball family, a basketball family that's royalty, and I think, look, that doesn't mean that it's going to guarantee any success, but those ties go such a long way when you're trying to build something, and you want to bring the right people around you. And I think he's got a very deep network that he can tap into.
Yeah, as Arab said here, he got a lot of connections to the basketball world. Like when I think of his dad, obviously he played for 14 years. He was a guy that was addicted. I don't remember what the nature of the addiction was, and then became sober. So I feel like every single time a player in college or NBA was really screwing up, they'd go see John Lucas.
We used to send guys. We used to send guys to him if they were really messing up.
So, FRM
as our agency, yeah.
So through that, you got a lot of your ties get even stronger, right? Hopefully, we don't have the players that need that on the Miami Hurricanes, but it happens. But I mean, just in general, the fact that he was the guy that everybody would go to see, on top of all the basketball kind of credentials he had, to me, that was something that jumped out because, this is about everything is about connections. And when you need an assistant coach, when you know a high school coach that might have a player you need, all of these things, this is where you lean on the connections.
Yeah. Now, Kyle makes a great point that, and I said it to a sense, Lanning took over an Oregon program that was a 10-win team and had, some of the best resources in college football. But from a resume standpoint, and let's not get it twisted here, Miami just had a top 10 recruiting class in basketball. You have money if you're bringing in a top 10 recruiting class.
Yeah, and Miami,
am I wrong there?
No, and Miami's never been a program that built like that much over time. I mean, I get it. I feel like under Larinaga, correct if I'm wrong, the rebuild time was like 2 years. Oh, there we go. Johnny Lagoon's got a plug high up in Duke athletics. Let's get the scoop. Don't spook anybody. But it's always been 2 years with Larinaga. It'd be like, because it used to be before the portal, used to sit out a year for the transfers. So it'd basically be the year the guy's sitting and then it's playing, and that would be your development. It's not like we had a ton of homegrown guys playing, 3 or 4 years. Isaiah Wong is an exception to that, but most of these guys were transfers even before the portal. So I think, this is a situation where you could rebuild fast with the right connections.
352 MLW says bring Lucas in as an assistant. Man, I don't know where else he could be an assistant in college basketball. He's worked at some pretty elite places. It's his next job is a head coach, and if it's not at Miami, it'll be at another Power 4 program.
Yeah, it's hard to get higher than where he is right now, number 2 at Duke. So
352 MLW says we need Rick Pitino. I mean, Richard Pitino, I could see him being a guy in the mix. I haven't necessarily. Jai Lucas's name and Chris Quinn have been the two names I've heard, more than anything. But you know how these coaching searches go. I found it interesting when I heard it again this morning in terms of Lucas, and did more digging into the background. Duke's here next week, man. So maybe finalize the deal next week. Who knows?
We'll see. Hey, look, former point guards. I like the former point guard kind of, mode. Obviously, there's a ton of guys you could fit that profile. I mean, how many head coaches were former point guards when you really look at it, right? I mean, just go down. I mean, Shire was a kind of combo guard, if I recall.
Yeah, it was like more of a shooting guard,
but he handled
an off-ball guy. Yeah.
But he handled the ball plenty, and obviously Quinn and Jai Lucas, those are 2 former point guards. Go in the pros, Missoula and Spo, former point guards. I know that's just a couple of them. There's a million. Hurley's
and
Hurley's are former point guards.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a cerebral position. This is my last kind of point on this whole thing and why I think it could make sense, and why I said, like, you're investing in a guy early, because if this is a sort of guy who goes to another program and has any, like, another, let's call it a mid-level ACC program or a mid-level Power 4 basketball program, right? And has success, like any sort of success there, he's going to go to like a blue blood program eventually. Like that's the sort of trajectory he's on. If you get him at Miami now, you got a chance to really build something with this guy and have something to last, I think, for the long haul.
Yeah, I mean, because we know the blue blood programs in college basketball, but there's nothing to say that you can't get everything you need here at Miami if you build it the right way. There's nothing says that you can't make this the spot for you, for what you like. You get your family here. You have the arena already. There's not like we're playing in the Miami arena. You have some track record of success that you could sell. I mean, clearly you're in what traditionally is the best conference. We know it's not that right now. Although who knows what happens in the tournament. We saw, last time people said the ACC was down, they made a huge run in the tournament. So you have the conference, you have the arena, you have some track record of success winning the ACC Final Four, etc. If you can get this thing cranked up, who's to say this is not a stable long-term program that you could have sustained success at for a guy who's 36 years old, or however, Chris Quinn is not that much older than him. Just two names we've mentioned. So I think this is a spot where you really not only, it's hard to follow a legend, right? So you look at Duke and that whole situation. Coach L's a legend, but I don't think the fans are going to be killing the next coach for not being Coach L. Right. Maybe if the guy flops, yeah, but it's not like, I think it's you're following a legend of the school, but the pressure of following a legend at Miami is not the same. People are going to want to give this guy a chance to succeed. And especially given the fact that Coach L's run so clearly came to an end naturally, right? It wasn't like he was pushed out. I think that's going to be a smooth transition for whoever gets the job. So it's a lower type pressure ACC job with big upside.
Yep, without a doubt. And look, just to clarify one more time, as Canes fan says, I hope you're not wrong, Pete. I'm not reporting that he's going to be the guy. I just, based on what I know, think that he's definitely in the mix. So you guys have been asking for updates. I've been digging. I promise you guys, if I get something, I will let you guys know. But seems to me like he's one of the couple who's there. So,
yep. No, excited to see how this turns out. The game yesterday, I just got the highlights like an hour ago. I know you watched the game. Any thoughts on the game yesterday?
I mean, look, they're playing hard the last few games. I got to say they really are. It got sloppy yesterday, the up and down. They couldn't stop Ewan for them, their big guy, number 12, really crafty, skilled big guy. I don't know. You said you didn't get to watch the game?
I just watched the highlights.
That big guy looks like an NBA player to me. And other than that, I think, look, they've been playing a lot harder. Lynn Kidd has had some better moments. I mean, every team's trying to double team him, and he's doing a good job passing out of the double team for the most part. But it's still a couple crazy cross-court passes from him, Joe Bay. I mean, it's very discombobulated. But I mean, it's been a little more entertaining. I think they're pretty much eliminated now from the ACC tournament, though. So I guess they're not. They didn't let us get hot.
Divine, love to see him get hot from three because he's been pretty cold there for the majority of the season. I like that he's still taking them, though. I know I said 3 attempts yesterday, 4 attempts, something like that. I'm glad he's still taking them. Obviously, we know what he does when he gets to the rim.
352 says the center at FSU is killing us with our point guard situation so bad we can't get good shots in half court. Look, Divine is one of the better players on the team right now. Obviously, still learning how to run an offense, but I think it's more so the skill sets of individual guys is why they can't get good shots in the open court. Like, no one can beat someone off the dribble for them. Like, only maybe 1 or 2 guys on the team can consistently beat players off the dribble. There's no one who can create their own shot in terms of, jump shots off the bounce, like doing anything to get them towards the hoop and create separation. There's just not much of that.
Yeah, it's just a mismatched team, right? And I hope whoever the new coach
no ball handlers either, which is, goes to this point here.
Yeah, there he is. We're going to press full, I just hope when Jai Lucas comes in, he understands it's not a rush because he's a new coach who's going to be so excited to get things like Manny Diaz, right? You're trying to just speed everything up. Whoever it is, it's Jai Lucas, whoever the new coach is, don't be in a rush. Build the right way. Take your lumps, but don't rush because to me, this team is the product of a rush process, and the pieces never made sense. I still don't understand why Jalen Blackman was on this team, and obviously he didn't last, even with Nigel Pack being out. Imagine if Nigel Pack was on the team. Then he really would have been redundant. So again, things like that, I just get role players, Get your players you're going to build around as being your main players and get an identity. Don't just grab everybody that's available in the portal that you have some kind of connection to and then just try to coach a mismatched team. Build a team. If they need more talent, they'll accumulate talent over time. You don't have to win it the first year. Just build something that's built for last.
Yalaha Kane, who's not I know from the football side, is not a big fan of the portal, says rushed, aka portal purchase. I mean, you lost guys in the portal. It was either not field a team or get guys in the portal.
Charlie Moore's from the portal, Nigel Pack's from the portal, Omir's from the portal,
Omir,
Jordan Miller's from the portal.
Miller.
That's
and again, that's the nature of college basketball. That's the nature of college sports. But like, they had a bunch of guys leave. What are you supposed to do? Or you can't field a team of full freshmen.
But look, those teams made sense. Charlie Moore is the point guard, right? You knew the roles on that team. The shooting guard's the shooting guard. The stretch four is the stretch four. It was a team. That Elite Eight team, even more so than the Final Four team, everybody had their role. Like, there was no duplicative skill sets on that team in the starting lineup. Then you look at Final Four team, you didn't have a true point guard, but you have Pack and Wong. Wong is big enough to be a wing, but handles. Pack guards, point guards, but handles, and it worked. And then Miller was kind of a do-it-all. You had Omir doing what he does. So the pieces fit, and I think that's the key to whatever happens next, because I've been a broken record on it all season. I mean, Pete, you watch way more close than I. I'm not staying up till 1 a.m. to watch a game like this. But that's certainly the feeling I've gotten from this team from really after the first couple games that were blowouts. Yeah, no, and we said it pretty early when we saw them line up, because I was always, Coach O was pretty honest early season, preseason, that he didn't know how they were going to defend, and he didn't know how the lineups were going to work together, because there was a lot of players who kind of had similar skill sets and not necessarily skill sets that you want to pair up on the court together. So we'll see. It's been a tough couple years, obviously, but this might be the first time we've ever talked basketball and gained viewership here. So up over 1,000. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks to everyone who listened to my basketball spiel there. But see what happens, man. I think it'll be done here officially in the next few weeks. So yeah, and look, I just got an invitation from my boy Coach Jay over at Category 6 for some lunch at the Dayland Pavilion tomorrow. So you might see me at Islas Canarias Express in the Dayland Dining Pavilion. I might be trying the crema de malanga fresh off the menu, new item, or maybe I'll just get the one of the croquetas. They got 7 options, 40 years and running at Islas Canarias. Now you got the Islas Canarias Express in Dayland for those on the go. Look at the pastries, look at the sandwiches, look at the cubaritos. If you're on the go, they load those sandwiches up, man. Yeah, you don't need to eat dinner as you go here, because you're going to feel great, but you're going to be full because the portions are outstanding. Maybe you take some home and just have 2 meals out of one order. That's why the quality is so good. The value is so good. There is no better spot than Islas Canarias Express. You got a lot of variability. You could choose your bowls. Of course, the colada, if you need to get really lit for the second half of your day. It is the coffee you always hear Mario Cristobal talk about. Islas Canarias is a whole nother level. If he was on Islas, we would have gotten Jeremiah Smith probably, because he wouldn't have slept until that happened. So that's funny. So yeah, real quick, Pete, one thing I wanted to talk about. I'm reading 247. They do a good job with national coverage. This is from the National 247, and they're highlighting 25 players who they think, 15 players. This is a pretty exclusive list, right? 15 players, all position, that they expect to be breakout stars next year. And a lot of names, these are the big names, right? These are the Arch Mannings, right? The Anthony Hills from Texas, KJ Bolden from Georgia, DJ Lagway, you can go on and on. Cam Coleman from Auburn, the big name, big breakout type players. Only one corner on this list of 15, and it is OJ Frederique. Look what they say about him. Again, this is a national publication, just to give you an idea of where some of our players are viewed. So OJ Frederique, here's what they said about the only corner listed on this top 15 players to watch as breakout superstars, not stars, superstars of college football. That's what they're talking about. That's what this list is about. So here's what they say. It's hard to have a much better true freshman season than O.J. Frederick Jr., who finished as a true freshman All-American with 21 tackles, 1 interception, and 7 passes defended. Perhaps most importantly, Frederick rarely allowed completions. Opposing passers completed just 36.8% of their attempts against them, which was the third lowest rate in the Power 4. Third lowest rate in the Power 4 of opposing completion percentage, even with that bad Syracuse game. Teams rarely even bothered to pick on the true freshman, despite how often opponents had to throw to catch up to Miami's high-scoring offense. That is a great point. The teams were throwing on us a lot because we were scoring so many points, but they still didn't throw it at Frederick very much. He was targeted 36 times compared to 47 and 62 targets, respectively, for his fellow starters, Jadis Richard and Daryl Porter. And, of course, only 36.8% of those attempts were successful. Third lowest rate in Power 4. 6 foot, 180-pound sophomore to be as a sure tackler with excellent ball skills. He'll continue to be one of the best cornerbacks, in the country. So a lot of love from 247. Nice statistical analysis. I just thought it was interesting article. I mean, this is what you see in February articles like this. But when you see the other names, I mean, here are the names that were on this list with Frederick. I mean, I mentioned Arch, DJ Lagway, Justice Haynes, who transferred from Alabama to Michigan, Cam Coleman, 5-star for Auburn, Spencer Fano, first-round pick from Utah tackle, Peter Woods from Clemson, the D lineman we got to deal with, DJ Ugalele's brother, Matayo at Oregon, LT Overton, superstar talent there, and then Anthony Hill, Suntarine Perkins, and then KJ Bolden. So these are all guys that are like 5-star players, big-name players. Then you got O.J. Frederick there. Great evaluation by the Miami Hurricanes on that one.
Yeah, his rating should be pretty high in the game this year. So
there you go. There you go, Pee Wee. You got anything else? You emptied the clip on that Jai Lucas.
Yeah, man. I was deep in the weeds on him. His dad, John Lucas, his first coaching job was the head coach of the Miami Tropics from 91 to 93, man. That was a crazy one to me. Those jerseys are great.
Yeah, you guys send that one to Megan, the SID. She'll love that.
If he's hired. If he's hired.
Ulysses, our boy, how's it going? CIA, closure investigative agency in the house. Word is Miami is going after 2 receivers, 1 running back, and 1 linebacker in the portal. Legit. I think it's February. I think after spring, you'll know more. We'll all know more. They'll know more. I don't think they know for sure. They got to see how it looks. I would say receiver's a safe bet. Receiver 1 is a safe bet. By the way, what we could talk about here too is we could talk about baseball, man, because our boy Nick Echeverria, who just started Echeverria Title, new title company out here in Miami, he is giving away tickets to the game on Friday, right behind the home plate. So, guys, check out Echeverria Title. Pete, I'll send you the link I'll send you the links here in the private chat. But guys, if you want to get free tickets, 2 free tickets to the game on Friday, courtesy of Echeverria Title, this is the University of Miami Hurricane baseball game against Princeton. This is this Saturday. So today's Thursday. So this Saturday at the Light, right behind home plate. Best tickets in town. The game is at, what time is the game? At 7 p.m. at the Light. All you got to do is answer a very simple question here. If you answer the question in the comments, or if you send the answer to Canes Insight, either on Twitter or Gmail, and you're the first one we find, you will be the winner of the tickets. So the question here is, who led the Miami Hurricanes in home runs in 2010? Who led the Miami Hurricanes in home runs in 2010? You get that one right, you get 2 tickets to the Light. By sending a message to us on Twitter at Canes Insight. You just send it to me at canesinsight@gmail.com. You say on the website. Whoever gets that first, gives me that answer first, you will get 2 tickets to the game on Friday, courtesy of Echeverria Title.
Remember to look at the timestamps on the messages, D.
Yeah, I know. First one with the timestamp, I find. You get it.
Yeah.
Ulysses, and I appreciate you. In your opinion, is Miami a top 10 preseason team, or do they need to add talent in the portal? I think you're seeing them pop up in top 10s right now. I do think they need to add talent. I think if they add a number one wide receiver, which look, that can mean a lot of things. How good is the number one receiver? But if it's one of the top, let's say 3 receivers in the post-spring portal, I think you'll see them as a top 10 team. Oh,
I would say top 15 right now.
Blue's got it. Harold Martinez.
Wow, look at that.
Blue, you got it, man. Send me you can put your email in the chat, or you can just email me at canesinside@gmail.com. We'll make sure you get hooked up with those tickets. 2 free tickets to the game tomorrow. Shout out to Blue.
Good tickets too, I've heard.
Right behind home plate.
Oh, he says if all.
Oh, he doesn't live in Miami, so we just spoiled it for somebody. Man,
You're gonna have to do a different question.
You got to do a different question now. All right, let me see here. I got a different one. Okay, hold on. Come on, man, you're killing me. All right. Let me see here. All right. Don't answer this question if you don't want the tickets. Here we go. In 2015. All right, 2015, Coral Gables Super Regional versus VCU. Which reliever entered a bases loaded, no out jam and escaped with no damage? Super Regional, VCU, 2015.
So what we should probably do, D, is end the stream so that someone doesn't put it in the comments here, and then they're just gonna have to get it after the show.
Yeah, seriously. All right, but let's talk about my Hurricane team store real quick. 30% off kids apparel. I know you guys got kids that are Canes fans that are dying to go to the light, show off their stuff, go to maybe a basketball game, maybe a women's basketball game. You know, these guys have everything you need for your kid. 30% off. If you want to get something for the grown-ups, 20% off your first item. Promo code INSIGHT20. If you go to the store, just say Canes Insight. They'll give you 20% off your first item right there. So look at all the options. You can reminisce on the Final Four run. You can get new stuff. Look at all this kid stuff. Soccer, Cam Ward, a replica. Nothing's better than that. I love the Old English M. That's got to be that's one of the best. Land of the Free. You got a ton of cool stuff here.
Look at that. Look at those swim trunks, man. Just in time for the summer.
There it is. Rich Andrews. When's the game tomorrow? 7 at the Light against Princeton.
Is that are the tickets for Friday, D?
Yep.
All right, there you go. All right. So I guess that'll be it. We'll be waiting in the DMs for the correct answer so we can get the tickets over to you. We appreciate everyone who's on this. Man, we've had over 1,000 for a while here. So great turnout here on a Thursday afternoon. If you're just joining us later here, you might have missed some of the football talk for the about first 20 minutes of the show.
Oh, hold on. Wait, one question. You Canes fan, you asked this earlier. I forgot to get to it. Any news on Jabari Antoine's knee? He's working out. He's not full go yet, but he's on the right track. This is not like a Trevante Citizen kind of, catastrophic deal. But he's on the right track. Amari Wallace was a faster recovery because he broke his bone and it healed right. Yeah.
As eloquently stated by Coach Duasso the other day.
Yes, sir. All right, everybody. Appreciate you checking us out. Like and subscribe. Go Canes.
Go Canes.